New developments in another big story in professional football. Accusations that a Miami Dolphins player quit because he was bullied by members of his own team. And now the team is taking action.
Bullying. The use of intimidation or strength to force an individual into an unwanted action or subjecting them to hurtful ridicule. At some point in our lives, we've experienced it, but step outside what you'd expect of a typical bully versus victim relationship, away from the playground, cafeteria, or high school party. Let me take you to a situation unlike any other, when two grown men playing in the NFL for the Miami Dolphins were engaged in one of the strangest professional relationships of its kind. On October 28, 2012, right tackle Jonathan Martin, a 24-year-old second player, left the team facility of the Miami Dolphins, never to return.
John grabs his plate of food, chucks it on the floor, runs in the locker room, grabs his keys, and he's gone.
3 days later, articles surfaced regarding the alleged abusive environment that Martin endured, with Richie Incognito identified as the main antagonist. Jonathan Martin moved to Los Angeles when he was just 10 years old and attended Stanford to play left tackle, a vital position for the offensive line that protected star quarterback Andrew Luck's blindside. During his time in college, he was a two-time All-American and a 2012 Lombardi Award finalist. From a young age, he experienced what he self-diagnosed as depression, but he did not tell anyone nor seek treatment. Drafted 42nd overall by the Dolphins, Martin joined alongside Richie Incognito, assembling one of the NFL's most talented offensive lines. Richie Incognito was raised in New Jersey, but after repeated run-ins with bullies as a young boy, his family packed up and moved to Glendale, Arizona. In the desert, Incognito became a football star and earned a scholarship to play for Nebraska University. During his college days, Incognito achieved all-conference honors multiple times and was an All-American offensive lineman. Yet, off the field, he had a lot of behavioral problems. He was suspended and ejected from a game for fighting, accused of spitting on an opponent, arrested several times, one being for possession of alcohol.
I've been a cancer in locker rooms in my past. I have been selfish. I haven't been a good teammate.
As the 2005 NFL Draft approached, various scouts were worried about Richie's character. Nonetheless, he was selected by the St. Louis Rams and played for them for 4 years. In 44 games with the team, he was fined $85,000 in penalties and was the Sporting News' 2009 NFL Dirtiest Player. After being released by the Rams, the Dolphins signed Incognito to a one-year deal that included a character clause, allowing him one strike for on or off-the-field issues, with another leading to a termination. He cleaned up his game and played well enough to earn a 3-year, $13 million deal in 2011. The next phase of Incognito's career started when he was voted onto the Dolphins Leadership Council by other players. The 2012 season would be a successful one, as Incognito was selected to the Pro Bowl on top of receiving the 2012 Good Guy Award for his professionalism and cooperation with the media. At this time, Jonathan Martin was excited to become a Dolphin and joined the offensive line alongside Incognito and his friends, John Jerry and Mike Pouncey. Jerry, a guard out of Ole Miss, and Pouncey, an All-American center from Florida, were both close friends with each other and Incognito. They considered Martin a close friend as well. Jonathan Martin entered the Dolphins as a quiet and reserved player in hopes that he would earn the respect of his teammates with his play rather than through his words. As a captain and team vet, Incognito took it upon himself to help Martin become a part of the group. They socialized often through team activities outside of football, going out to bars, clubs, restaurants, watching film together as they constantly communicated via group text. Martin was given the nickname Big Weirdo by Pouncey because he thought that Martin was, quote, a quiet guy, always reading books. That is not common for a football player.
The problem is that he jumped into a situation, being a very good guy, around a bunch of guys that are coming from non-Stanford-like surroundings.
As Martin's rookie season progressed, the insulting language continued to get worse. Following the 2012 training camp, Martin was constantly called a bitch by Jones. Due to his nature, Martin would often stay silent, further provoking Incognito and others to call him, quote, a bitch, faggot, and cunt. Martin would go on to say that he believed his failure to respond encouraged the behavior and actually made it worse. Things continued to get worse for Martin once the other members of the offensive line learned that he had a sister, allowing Incognito and Pouncey to make graphic sexual comments about her. Martin generally remained quiet when these comments were made, as his occasional threats to retaliate were often met with laughter. The insults about his sister occurred throughout the Dolphins facility, on the field, in the locker room, and cafeteria. Dolphins assistant coaches and trainers would occasionally chime in or laugh when they heard the players speaking about Martin's sister. Jonathan continued to experience the abuse, but viewed the taunting as a result of his rookie status, hoping that it would all tone down as time passed.
And he came on the team, and he kind of tests people. He tries to test you to see if you have enough manhood, if you have enough testosterone to put that line in the dirt.
If I would have known that this was hurting John, we'd spend plenty of time one-on-one outside of football. If John would have came to me once, or if one of our other teammates would have come to me once and said, "Listen, lay off John. He's had enough of it. It's been too much." I would have been the first person not only to change myself, but to change people around me.
What makes this scandal particularly unique is the fact that the bullying stretched beyond just a few individuals. The very fabric of the team, including coaches, allowed for it to continue. Offensive line coach Jim Turner was aware of a joke that a certain member of the line was gay. In fact, he even taunted the player on numerous occasions, and during a 2012 Christmas party, Turner decided to purchase female blow-up dolls for all members of the line, except for the player who was taunted. He got him a male doll. This is just one example of how the leaders of the team fostered an abusive work environment. From Martin's perspective, there was a, quote, good Richie, whom he enjoyed to frequent bars and nightclubs with. But there was also a, quote, bad Richie that came out with larger audiences, also nicknamed the Tornado, for his explosive anger and inappropriate comments. Spanning the 2012-13 season, Martin and Incognito sent roughly 1,300 texts, many of which illustrate genuine respect on Incognito's behalf. However, there were a disturbing amount of instances in which Incognito threatened Martin and abused him verbally as well as using racial epithets. Martin would rarely respond to such messages with protest or disapproval. The 2013 offseason provided relief for Jonathan Martin as he sought to get away from the team and recharge for the upcoming season. The offensive line scheduled a group trip to Las Vegas, an event that Martin desperately wanted to avoid. As Incognito texted Martin, he requested that he bring cocaine while making more sexual comments about his sister. These messages worried Martin significantly as it showed that Incognito did not care that he was a rookie anymore. The abuse would continue nonetheless. At this moment, Martin began to question if he should return to the team next season. He told his lawyer later that he was contemplating suicide. Martin texted Incognito that he would not be attending the trip, and to his surprise, Incognito responded, quote, all good, let me know if you need anything.
On April 6th of 2013, after finishing up a workout at Stanford, Martin noticed a missed call and voicemail left by Incognito.
Hey, what's up, you half N-word piece of black. I saw you on Twitter. You've been training 10 weeks. I want to blank in your mouth. I'm going to slap your blank mouth. Going to slap your real mother across the face. Laughter. You're still a rookie. I will kill you.
What I want people to know is the way Jonathan and the rest of the offensive line and how our teammates, how we communicate, it's vulgar. It's not right. When the words are put in the context, I understand why a lot of eyebrows get raised.
In May 2013, Martin began to miss team workouts. He stated that he was stressed from a yacht trip that occurred earlier in the month with Pouncey, Incognito, and others, in which he was humiliated the entire time. Following that trip, TMZ videos surfaced of a drunken Incognito who would go on to say he doesn't remember anything abusive from that trip. Martin approached the coach and informed him that he was thinking about leaving football but didn't disclose why. The anonymous coach recommended that Martin stay in it for the money and offered to help him meet with a mental health professional. At this time, Martin began to take Lexapro, a drug designed to help treat anxiety. He claimed that the pill made him feel better, paired with weekly meetings in which he saw a doctor, only lasting for 8 weeks before he stopped seeking help. As the 2013 season rolled around, it was more of the same for Martin in terms of the vulgar language and abuse he endured from teammates. As the treatment from his teammates continued and the fines got larger and larger, Incognito said that Martin turned to substances. Poor performance on the field led to intoxication off it. The final straw was finally pulled on October 28, 2013, when Martin was taunted all day.
We decided we were going to pull a prank on Jonathan. We've done this prank many times before. Jonathan's been in on this prank when we've done it to other offensive linemen. And basically the prank is We had 12, 13 offensive linemen sitting at the offensive line table. We have our special table in the lunchroom we eat at every day. And there was one seat open at the end of the table. And I told the guys, listen, when J Mart sits down, we're all going to grab our trays, we're going to go put them away, and we're going to leave him there sitting by himself. And like I said, we've done this many times before. So John comes, he sits down, we all get up, we grab our trays, we're taking off, we're all laughing and carrying on. And John grabs his plate of food, chucks it on the floor, runs in the locker room, grabs his keys, and he's gone.
He would go on to sit out of football for the next year and a half before returning on a short stint with the Carolina Panthers and San Francisco 49ers, ultimately retiring in 2015. Martin would go on to start an anti-bullying foundation, but it was short-lived, as he was arrested regarding a post he made on February 7, 2018, depicting a shotgun as he tagged his high school and former players on the Dolphins, stating, quote, "When you're a bullying victim and coward, your options are suicide or revenge." Incognito would take the 2014 season off, but was re-signed to play with the Bills in 2015 and was a Pro Bowler each of the final 3 seasons of his career. Incognito retired peacefully until he was back in the news after attempting to decapitate his own father at his funeral.
Just don't assume that this is just a guy who wanted to retire. And Richie loves football as much as anybody I've ever met in my life.